Hey there everybody, it's Fernando Stedman here with another episode of TLT Recap and Analysis, and this time we're going to be going through round 5 and 6. Um, I wasn't expecting to make a video this early because, this is quite early in the week to be making a video. It's only Wednesday, so good stuff to all of the players who have already played. And all the matches are actually pretty one-sided this week, 2-0s in every single one. There were definitely some close games. Like, for example, I probably should have lost the game versus Poison Adhesive in mono, and there are some other close games as well, but I'll talk about each of the individual games in the future. But I'm going to be making a quick announcement. I'm going to also be, from now on, posting all of the remaining matches for me TLT, or for my TLT matches live playing. And that's just because I've wanted to do this kind of live kind of gameplay kind of video for a while, but it's been kind of hard for me to do it because of various reasons. Now that I'm, at my own dorm and apartment, I can kind of do my own stuff regarding the, video making, and I'm a little bit more free in that respect, so it will allow me to do that. And on top of that, I haven't really had the chance to do so for like long periods of time, and I've seen, Lucier has been doing a lot of content like that, and I've been interested in trying it for a while, but I didn't really know if there was that much interest. But I have talked to some people, and they have requested this kind of video, so I'm going to be doing it for the remainder of TLT, and then hopefully in the future I'll try to do some more stuff regarding that as well. Maybe some ladder stuff, maybe some other stuff, it depends. But yeah, let's get into the matches. We'll start with Friso Ava versus Principal Tacos. The first game was OU, and Friso pretty much dominated that match. There was a little bit of hacks towards the end, but it most likely didn't matter because Friso had a ditto at the end of the game, and it most likely would have cleaned up from that position. So he won that one pretty cleanly, in my opinion, even without any of the, luck, quote unquote, helping him at the end. I think he would have probably won. And then the second game was mono. Despite Principal Tacos bringing a pretty interesting team that I think actually potentially had a nice matchup with the sub CM Meloedo, max HP. He wasn't able to clutch it out, and wasn't able to really break through Friso's stall team. They were both playing normal. Principal Tacos was playing more of the offensive variant with sub CM Meloedo and Porygon Z, where Friso was playing like the the very bulky version with like Porygon 2, Chansey, defensive Staraptor, and Ditto. It's like more semi-stall, I guess, but it's like the closest to stall I feel like there is in mono. Sorry about the noise. I guess there's just some people doing stupid stuff outside. And our second match was SMB versus Banjo-Zolol. The first game was in RU, and SMB took it pretty convincingly. It was like some Nidoqueen, it was some like Ninetales balance that SMB used, and it was just solid play throughout. And there wasn't too much to say about that match, but it is important that SMB did win that, because I think for me, I felt like one of the things coming into this week was that SMB didn't really show signs that he could be playing those top level tiers, top other tiers at a top level. And maybe that's due to lack of preparation. Maybe that's because he didn't feel like his opponents were good enough for him to need to show his hand, or whatever it was. But SMB has the fact that he did step up this week and played a very clean game versus Banjo-Zolol gives me more confidence in him going forward. That said, though, he is going to be playing Friso next week, which is going to be extremely tough. And Friso was one of the players I kind of cited as the reason why I don't feel like SMB is like top 3 this year, as opposed to like previous years where I felt like he was one of the best players. I think that part of it is that competition is kind of catching up to him. I think Friso and GXC are like notable players that who have really improved in the past few years, or like in the past few years since I felt like SMB was really the dominant player in TLT. And part of it is also like he has mostly focused on doubles, and it's worked out for him because he's like been at the top of doubles for this entire time. But other players like Friso have focused more on like the other tiers, and we're able to like maintain high levels in multiple different tiers. So SMB is going to have a tough challenge against Friso, but he is definitely going to be favored at least in doubles, where he also won versus Banjo and that game was very clean. He just was in control the entire time, basically what you would expect from SMB, and it went very cleanly in his favor. So SMB versus Friso is going to be the next match, and I'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to the round 6 matchups. I beat Poison Adhesive. The mono game was not super clean. At the end, it was most likely that he would have won. But I did get a max roll to break his sub, and then he killed my hero in black so that I would be able to get a free switch into my Mammoth. Um, so that was unfortunate. We probably would have gone to a third game if not for that. But I also got lucky previous in the game because I did get a few flinches and whatnot. Um, so I apologize for that, but um, yeah, I guess it just happens. The other game was LC, where I took that game like pretty convincingly, I think. I was in control for most of the game, and there wasn't that much to say. I had Scarf Talo in the back. I actually could have played it better, but um, with the Scarf Talo, there wasn't like a huge way that he could have won that from the position he was in. So I take that in two, although I felt like we probably could have gone to a game 3. I would have still been confident in winning NU, but obviously a lot of things could have happened. So it was unfortunate for him. But I'll be moving on and playing PD, and I'll be recording that. But PD beat Sificon, and I already talked mostly about this in my previous video, but I don't want to go too much into detail about it because I did talk about it before, but PD basically won an LC cleanly and then used cheese and won with that in UU. So we are going to be moving on into round 6, and I'll be talking about the matchups here. So we'll start with Jaren versus 100% GXC. I think Jaren has made it really far, farther than I would have potentially expected. Definitely not winners semifinals without dropping a match so far. Let me look at his opponents. Yeah, and he's been definitely a lot of good players like Principal Tacos, Satsai, and Banjrizolo was his path to get here. So definitely solid play from him. I've definitely underestimated him in the sense that I feel like some of the other players um, like Satsa, I definitely felt were better than him, but I think GXC is on a different level as compared to the other players that Jaren has played so far, and GXC has also been ramping up with his recently winning against Friso. The issue for me is that I know that Jaren will always be solid in all 5 tiers, and that he is overall just a very good player because he relies more on his fundamentals than his tier knowledge. So when you play and beat Jaren, it's not like you can just rely on him not knowing the tier basically. And I don't know if I can say the same about GXC. So in the best of 5 format, I think GXC might struggle a little bit more because I think that he may not have the tier knowledge of some of the other tiers that he doesn't play as much, like maybe RU or NU, where I haven't seen very much from him, as opposed to his like strong tiers like PU and Ubers and like those ones. And I think OU he plays a good amount as well. So I think it'll be kind of interesting to see how this one plays out. I'll go with like a 50-50 for now because I think that GXC overall is a better player, but that I think that some of the tier specific things may come to haunt him, and that's where Jaren kind of, in my opinion, has an advantage, where GXC is a little bit more novice to a lot of these other tiers. I think Jaren has kind of a basic understanding of every tier being played in TLT and can play them at a relatively high level. And I think that's where he really is able to shine as a player. And while that may not work versus like Ham, Frisso, and Nat, for example, I think that versus GXD, it definitely could give him an advantage. So I'll go 50-50 on this one. I think it comes a lot down to prep and who really wants to win this one a lot, because I could see both players winning on this, and I can say that for every single match this round. And out of all of these top 8 players, I could see basically everyone winning. Um, I think there's some that are more likely than others, but I think that this is definitely a very, very stacked top 8. And basically, what I would have liked to see from a top 8, I wouldn't like to see someone who just lucked their way into top 8, but players who really tried and brought good teams and played well up until this point, and that's kind of what I see here. So the next match is Ham versus Nat. Um, this is probably the highlight of the round. I think this is something where I've been really looking forward to watching this, because first off, Nat has been kind of upset that we have ranked her as kind of what, in my opinion, she is the third best player in this tournament for this format behind Frisso and Ham. Um, and I feel like she's upset with that because she is like one of the top SPL players or SPL level players, snake draft, whatever you want to say. And I think this is kind of the round where um, it either proves or disproves what I believe and what she believes, because Ham is probably the player that matches up the best against Nat in terms of um, experience and general, and in general being like a good player. Ham has basically he has the tournament experience to win, but also because he matches up very well from a tier perspective. Nat is probably going to have to lock RU, and she has an advantage, of course, against Ham, but I don't think it's as big as like against other players. Like if Nat locked RU against me, it's probably like an 85-15 or like 90-10 or maybe 95-5 even, because like her advantage over me and RU is like that much. But against Ham, I don't even know if it's more than like 60-40. It could even be like 65-35 or like something like that at worst, I think. Um, and so because of that, I feel like um, she it's not a free win for her lock tier, but Ham has a huge advantage in these other tiers like LC, Ubers, NU even, and so I think depending on the tiers that are selected, I feel like Ham will have a huge advantage because Nat will have to be battling uphill, being at a deficit in most of the other tiers. Like some of the tiers like Mono, I would give the advantage to Nat, but I don't see Nat being able to get both Mono and RU in the series. And so because of that, I think Ham will have the advantage in 3 or 4 of the different tiers. Like in OU, I would give Ham the advantage for sure. I would give Ham the advantage in like Ubers, LC, NU, and then like you would probably go 50-50, or maybe Hammond is favored there too. So it's going to be really, really hard for Nat to really, in my opinion, be able to beat Ham. But I could definitely see myself being wrong, because if you bring good prep, which is kind of hard versus Ham because he brings solid teams and doesn't like have very strict patterns where he often will use different stuff and you can't just like C team him. And if she cares a lot about this, then maybe I can see her winning against Ham, but I just feel like it's kind of unlikely. And this is where I kind of drew the line for me putting Nat in a tier below. But it may sound to like I'm giving Ham like an overwhelming advantage. But honestly, I feel like this is probably closer than making it sound. I'm just kind of laying it out this way because I feel that this is kind of in theory what kind of could happen, but I could also definitely see Nat winning this if she just brings solid team. She only needs to win 3 games, and one of them can be RU. So if, in the other 2 tiers, if she just brings solid and plays very well, I could definitely see Ham dropping a few games. And obviously, luck is a factor that could come into play this series. But this is definitely the most interesting match for me because I think it's the closest and the most high level. So I definitely feel that this one is for me the best match of the week. But all the matches to come will be very, very interesting. So um, I kind of went on a rant there, but it's going to be very fun to watch this one. The next match is SMB versus Friso, which I already kind of talked about before when I was going over SMB. And I think that in a similar vein, Friso represents what Ham was in the other match, and SMB represents what Nat is in the other match because Friso is similar to Ham, like able to play a lot of different tiers at a very high level versus SMB who plays one tier at a high level and then the other tiers at a very good level. And Friso is able to kind of even match SMB in the doubles metagame. He's definitely not as good, similar to how Ham is not as good as Nat in RU, but um, Friso can definitely play doubles at a high level, so I could see them playing like a very close series in that respect. But um, I think, unlike Ham and Nat, I do think that Friso is better than SMB and these other tiers. I think Nat is better fundamentally because she comes from a background that is more um, playing these other tiers, where SMB has mostly been a doubles player for basically his entire career. And while he does play these other tiers, it's not at the same level that Nat does, in my opinion. And I think that if it wasn't for his shakier performance prior to this week, then I'd have more confidence in him, and that's kind of what I was alluding to before. While SMB has, won all his matches, I think the way that he won them may have dropped his stock a little bit for me. Where Nat has been playing very clean the entire tournament, so definitely a difference for me. But I think SMB will lose to Friso this round, but it's going to be also a close one, and I could definitely see SMB winning as well, similar to how I could see Nat winning, but I would say Friso is definitely favored in my opinion. And then the final match is myself versus PD, which will be recorded. It's going to be doubles. I need to actually look up the exact tiers, but I think it's doubles, LC, NU, um, OU, and UU. Something along those lines. Um, I would need to find it somewhere. Actually, I think PD might have posted it somewhere here. Let's see. No, he did not. Okay, I'll figure it out, and you'll know by the start of next video because I'm definitely going to be have to figure it out myself. So there's that. Also, I wanted to say at the end of this video, thank you all for supporting me, and I want to give a big shout out to Principal Tacos, who's been very friendly and nice to the tours community. And if you guys do see him around, I do hope that you give him like a warm farewell, kind of. I don't know if he's still going to be around or if he's already gone for good, but I do hope that he has success. And if Principal Tacos does watch this, I hope you do have success in whatever you choose to pursue outside of Mons. Thank you very much for taking part in the Tours Room community, and keep your head up. I think you were improving a lot towards the end, and I think a lot of the things that you learned from Pokemon you can apply to real life as well, because in my experience, I think a lot of those things can be applicable with in terms of the mental state and whatnot. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys later on in this week sometime for my match versus PD, and I'll be recording and posting that video when it goes up. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did enjoy this video, then leave a like and consider subscribing. And if you didn't, then I don't know why you're still watching. See you guys in the next video.